In this video, we're going to be talking about horror stories with doctors. Hey guys, my name is Michael with IamNursing.com. Always understand that I am nursing, you are nursing, and we are nursing. Let's go ahead and get started. So I want to be able to share with you guys a horror story with a physician that I had when I was a new nurse in the field, okay? Now, just to let you guys know, I also want to hear about the horror stories you've had with physicians as well. You know, if whether you're a student nurse around that time or when you've been working in the field already as a nurse. So I had a doctor one day. I just came in shift, right? And the nurse was really busy at that time. So this was when I was a travel nurse in Taft, California. So the night nurse was trying to finish a few things over and asked me to take a look at a patient. I looked at the patient a little bit to give a second opinion, and I gave my second opinion to the nurse that was coming in from the night shift. And so her and I were talking. I said, okay, well, is there anything I can do to make your day end faster and get you home as soon as possible? Because I also wanted to get my report so that I can get on my way and get started. So she told me, can you call the physician? This is what's going on. Can you make sure you follow through with it? So, I obliged, not knowing that that nurse actually made a couple phone calls, and for some reason the doctor was already pissed already. Okay, so mind you, I'm just getting started. I'm still just waking up, drinking my cup of coffee, just like my normal self, my Dunkin' Donuts coffee. Thank you, Dunkin' Donuts. You have been probably one of the biggest helps for millions of nurses in the United States. And by the way, just to let you guys know, full disclosure, Dunkin' Donuts is not sponsoring this video either. I just want to say a shout out and thank you, okay? So, all right, moving on. So I called the physician up. I had him paged. He didn't call back. I called, I paged again. So he finally called in. And the first thing out of the mouth of this doctor was, "You piece of bleep." And I'm like, "Excuse me?" And he goes, blah, 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 blah. Why are you calling me? This and that. And just was seriously just ripping my brains with all the cuss words as much as possible. And, my dad used to tell me this thing is that, in Tagalog, it says, "Pakilaman mo ng lasing, wag lang ang bagong gising." Means go ahead and mess with a drunk person, just not somebody who just woke up. And guess who just woke up that day? This dude. All right. I was just waking up at that time. And boy, did he crack something in my brain that he was just swearing at me, blah, 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 so and so. Okay. So I said, "Excuse me, doctor." And what ended up happening was probably one of the worst decisions in my life, right? Because first of all, that doctor could have he didn't know who was paging him. Yes, it was from the floor that that he got a phone call a few times from the other nurse. Yes, technically it's about the patient that nurse was bugging him about. But you don't know who's in the other line. What if it was a family member, right? Or something. So that doctor had poor communication skills. And so that was a big problem. But what I did next, I'm not that proud of. Now, maybe I am. But I literally knew where the doctor was calling from because he was calling from the 4th floor. So I told the nurse, I said, "Listen, I just got chewed up by the doctor." And then he hung up the phone on me. And this nurse said, "I am so sorry. I should have told you that might happen, that he was a little bit pissed already." I'm like, no. It's perfectly fine. Technically, she should have. But at the very same time, that doctor should not have done what he did. Because first of all, you don't cuss on the nurses. And nurses, we should not cuss on the doctors. We never degrade anybody. We shouldn't. We're not in that type of business to do so because we're in the business of caring. And I'm sorry, physicians, but if I call you at 3 o'clock in the morning and you're annoyed by me waking you up because I need to share something with you about your patients, excuse me, doctor, excuse me, but technically, that's the job you signed up with. And if you can't handle the 3 o'clock in the morning phone calls, then don't work in the hospital. Then don't have and be an on-call physician, right? So I ended up back in the 4th floor, and I'm like, walked into the 4th floor, went to one nurse's station. I said, hey, is Dr. So-and-so here? And they're like, oh no, he's in the other side. So then I went to the other side, and the doctor looks up, and I look at the doctor. I was like, so you decide that you can swear at me in the phone and hang up on me. So I told the physician, why don't you swear at me right now, since I'm in the floor of your floor right now, and you're not hiding behind a headpiece of a phone. Now, mind you, I didn't threaten him of any violence. I didn't threaten him of any bodily injury. But me just being present over there and calling him out was pretty much nerve-wracking, because he didn't expect that, right? And so what's funny was I actually got a write-up. Well, they attempted to give me a write-up is the correct wording of things. Because later on they said, hey, why did you threaten the physician? I said, there were nurses in the floor. There was no threat that was being given. I just went up to the fourth floor because he hung up and I needed an order. And I asked him the question of, why would you do that? I didn't threaten him. Obviously, in a way, maybe my looks looked like it was threatening, but at the very same time, that doctor needed a check. And I asked the nurse supervisor, I said, so I'm getting written up because the doctor was the one that was abusive, that went against policies, because I never swore at the physician. I just asked him, why would he start swearing, and I quoted him. I didn't swear at him. I quoted every single word that he said. Is that swearing at him when I'm just quoting the words that he said? And of course, nurse management wanted me written up, because the truth is that doctor brought in patients to that particular hospital. And look, business part, me being a business person, I respect that. But the main thing is this, is that no one should degrade another person. No nurse should degrade a CNA. No RN should degrade an LPN. No nurse practitioner should degrade somebody below her. And nobody should bark back up to anybody else. It's patient care that we actually have to have. So what kind of horror stories have you had with the physician? Oh, I have another one actually. For some reason, I get those really good physicians. So one time, now mind you, I may be a smart aleck and stuff like that, and trust me, full disclosure, I do not recommend that you guys actually do this, okay? I don't recommend it, but that's why this is a place where we can share our stories to make ourselves feel better. Whatever is funny for us, whatever is sad, but it's gonna be able to make us feel better, because we have a community to share with. So I wanna hear your horror story. So here's another horror story that I got back at a physician. I guess I'm a little bit of a smart butt, right? So I called the physician. It was actually another physician, but I was working at a nursing home this time. And I called the physician, I had him paged, and he actually called back like around 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, right? I was working night shift. And literally, so this is when you have to do your TO, right? Your telephone orders. And the physician, I had the physician and speaker at that time, because I was doing a few other things. And the physician gave me the order, but, telephone order, so you follow what the physician says. So the physician said the medication, right? The dose, the routes, but, excuse me, included in the whole TO was a swear word. Give the effing patient this medication by this dose, by this route, time and everything. And I looked at the other nurses when that call was over, and then he hung up also. And I looked at the other nurses and I said, all right, guys, did you hear that order that physician just said? And they're like laughing. They're like, yeah, we heard it. Perfect. You guys are going to attest to that? Yes. Great. You're my witness. So I literally wrote the order verbatim with the swear word in it. And of course, just like anything else, you write the TO, you fax that in, back in the days. Now, this was during the age when we didn't have EMRs where you typed everything in and it was all electronically, right? This was seriously, you write a TO order in a triplicate piece of paper. One goes into the chart. The other two gets sent into, down to the office. And what ends up happening is one goes to the person who enters everything in the computer and the other one goes to the physician to be signed, okay? So that's what pretty much happens, right? And so all of a sudden I get called down to the office. Now, just to let you guys know, I love my patient. I take care of them, but I just don't take a lot of slack from people. I don't allow them to take advantage of that. But I'll always kill them with kindness. So, anyways, they called me up and they said, "All right, Michael, we saw your order." So yeah, I know. Now, okay, I'm so sorry. I did not write in the TO, but I charted it in the nurse's notes of what the physician said. So what ended up happening was they're like, "Well, we need you to revise the nurse's notes." And I said, "Why?" And they said, "Well, because you put a curse word." I'm like, "It's in quotes that's what the physician ordered, and that's what the physician said. So what do you want me to do?" So they wanted me to revise the nurse notes. I'm like, "I'm not changing the nurse's notes at all, because that's literally what he said, and I have witnesses to it. And you're asking me to falsify documentation." Now, listen, guys, if you're a nurse manager, right? If you're a nurse manager and you think what I did wrong, comment down below. If you're a regular nurse, an RN, an LPN, MSN, BSN, ASN, and you think I did something wrong, comment down below, right? That's perfectly fine. This is a place where we can actually share, and I respect anything that you guys want to share. I just want to be able to share you guys with some stories, and I want to hear your stories as well. So obviously I told them I'm not changing it, right? At this very moment, I'm not changing it, right? Because first of all, if I have to change these notes, there's another so many, like about 7 other shifts that's happened after my shift that has actually written below that. What are you going to do? Make us all rewrite the whole notes? Once again, this is the time when we actually had nurses' notes and you actually wrote in a piece of paper. So, so all you new nurses are so lucky. So anyways, pretty much what ended up happening was I didn't change the notes, okay? And about 2 days later, the physician that I had that interaction with, I guess he was told of what happened. And he came up to me and he actually apologized for saying the things that he said in the phone. And I told him, I said, "Well, you know what? It's gone. I don't let it get to me. It's just, dust over my shoulders, right?" And I told him that's perfectly fine, right? You know what? It happens. People get stressed out. It's a learning experience, right? But then I also told the physician, but just to let you know, I cannot erase my nurse's notes. And I hope you have to respect that one at least. And he actually said, "I respect it. I deserve that one. Kind of sucks, but I deserve that one." And that was a wake-up call for me. And from then on, I hang out with that doctor, went golfing with him several times. And what he said was that was one of the first times that somebody called BS on him, and that he needed that gut check, and he needed that time to be able to, figure out where he is, And so that was an amazing thing, right? Now it could have worked and gone differently for another doctor, for another person, for another nurse, right? So that's just a couple of the horror stories that I've faced with physicians, and I've had many of those. But as I've gone through my years, I've learned to actually be able to, number one, if a physician's yelling, just let it be and just laugh at it. Best way to laugh at it is to actually just feel sorry for him or her, right? That's what I pretty much do now. Is if a physician's yelling, I let them yell. I agree. I just kind of de-escalate the situation and take it from there. And, because that's the only thing you can do now. Because I've learned through the years is that if you add poison with poison, you're just creating the worst thing ever, the worst environment. So sometimes we have to be the better person and actually cut off the head of the snake before it stings someone. Does a snake really sting, or they bite someone? A bee stings, a snake bites, right? So anyways, but in the beginning of myself in the nursing career, I did not fully understand. I don't think that they had the right to yell or swear at me or any other nurse. I think that maybe at that moment I felt that that was the right decision. But as I grew older, like I said, I became more wiser, became more understanding, and probably would act differently now. So that's my horror stories, my 2 horror stories with physicians. What are your horror stories, or what are the horror stories that you've heard? Share down below. We want to hear it. We want to see some interactions going on. So once again, this is Michael with I Am Nursing. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Subscribe to the channel, like the video. Please share it with people. Get people to interact. And pretty much what we always want to say here at I Am Nursing is this: I am nursing, you are nursing, we are nursing.